Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because, well, we're tackling a topic that usually gets a, let's say, very visceral reaction. Look, if your very first instinct when you spot a spider is to jump on a chair or, grab a rolled up magazine, you are definitely not alone. Arachnophobia is deeply, deeply rooted in our psychology. But today, we're going to completely reframe that perspective. Through all the incredible data and research we've pulled together for this explainer, we're going to look way past the fear factor. We are unveiling spiders for what they truly are: absolute marvels of evolutionary engineering and, quite literally, Earth's unsung ecological superheroes. We've got some absolutely mind-bending science to cover, so let's get right into it. 51,673. Take a second to let that number sink in. That is the sheer volume of documented spider species currently known to science. They're spread out across 135 different taxonomic families, and honestly, their global presence is just staggering. They're thriving in lush tropical rainforests, scorching deserts, wind-swept grasslands, pitch-black caves, and, yep, our own living rooms. In fact, they live in nearly every single terrestrial habitat on Earth. Unless you're watching this from the freezing plains of Antarctica, which is literally the only land mass they don't inhabit, you are sharing your environment with these creatures right now. To put it into perspective, ecologists estimate that in a healthy green space, you are rarely more than a few feet away from a spider. And hey, that's not meant to be a creepy thought. It's actually a profound testament to their unparalleled evolutionary success over millions of years. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Meet the arachnid family, a highly diverse order. To really wrap our heads around this group, we first need to see how they fit into the biological tree of life. Spiders belong to the order Araneae, which sits right inside the broader class known as arachnid. And the diversity within this order, it's almost impossible to comprehend until you look at the extreme ends of the spectrum. On one side, you've got the Patu diglogua. This microscopic marvel has a body length of less than 0.37 millimeters. It's so tiny that an adult could comfortably sit right on the head of a pin with plenty of room to spare. Then, on the exact opposite end, we have the Theraphosa blondi, better known as the Goliath beard-eater tarantula. This absolute giant boasts a body length of up to 13 centimeters and a leg span the size of a standard dinner plate. Actually, get this, researchers walking through South American rainforests report actually hearing its footsteps clicking on the leaf litter. It's wild. That kind of staggering juxtaposition just perfectly highlights how wildly adaptable spider biology can be. And that extreme diversity extends brilliantly to how they look, too. We so often picture spiders in these drab shades of brown or black, just hiding in the shadows. But their coloration is incredibly complex and vibrant. Some spiders actively change colors based on their diet or their environment, blending in flawlessly with a white flower petal or a green leaf to ambush pollinators. But even more fascinating is this phenomenon of structural colors. So unlike normal chemical pigments, structural color happens when microscopic physical layers on the spider's exoskeleton literally refract light, kind of like a crystal prism bouncing rainbows across a room. The famous peacock spider uses these microscopic structures to display this dazzling, iridescent array of blues, reds, and golds. The tiny male of the species even does this elaborate, highly synchronized mating dance, waving its brightly colored abdomen like a fan to get a mate's attention. Honestly, it's a visual display that easily rivals the most beautiful birds of paradise. Section 2. Anatomy of a predator. Biological high-tech gear. Let's transition down to the micro level for a second and examine their fundamental body layout. Unlike insects, which, have 3 distinct body parts and 6 legs, spiders are remarkably compact. They feature just 2 main segments: the cephalothorax, which is essentially a fused head and thorax, and the abdomen. And crucially, they always have 8 legs. But here is the truly fascinating part. These legs aren't powered entirely by muscles like ours are. Nope. Spider legs operate largely on a brilliant biological hydraulic system. They use internal blood pressure, pumping a fluid called hemolymph into their legs to rapidly extend them. It is a literal fluid dynamics engine built right into their bodies. On top of that, these hydraulically powered limbs are absolutely covered in microscopic hairs, making them highly sensitive instruments capable of detecting the absolute faintest shifts in hair currents or ground vibrations. Next up in their superhero toolkit are the chelicerae and fangs. Now, I know the word fangs immediately sounds menacing, but for a spider, these are strictly precision hunting tools. Almost all spiders are carnivorous, feeding mainly on insects. To do this efficiently, they use these specially equipped mouthparts to deliver a highly evolved, targeted strike. But the venom doesn't just immobilize the prey. In a lot of species, this venom is packed with powerful digestive enzymes that immediately begin to break down the insect's internal structures. Because spiders can't chew solid food, these enzymes effectively liquefy the insect from the inside out. Yeah, it basically turns the prey into a highly nutritious, protein-rich smoothie that the spider can then just drink. Ruthless? Sure, but it's a phenomenally efficient digestive mechanism. And their internal engineering is just as impressive. Spiders use specialized respiratory organs known as book lungs, or sometimes a system of tubes called trachea, to breathe. Now, they're called book lungs because they consist of dozens of alternating, highly folded stacks of air pockets and tissue, heavily resembling the pages of a thick book. But why does this specific layered structure matter? Well, it's all about maximizing surface area. By folding the tissue in this exact way, the spider can pack a massive amount of respiratory surface into an incredibly tiny space. This allows for the extremely rapid oxygen absorption they need to power those hydraulic legs during sudden, explosive bursts of speed when they're chasing down prey or escaping danger. Section 3. The Silk Superpower, Nature's Ultimate Biomaterial. So we've talked about their anatomy, but now it's time to introduce their most famous superhero-level gadget. The secret behind this superpower lies in specialized biological manufacturing factories called spinnerets, located right on the end of the spider's abdomen. What happens inside these organs is a feat of chemistry that human scientists still struggle to replicate perfectly. The spider stores silk proteins as a thick, liquid soup inside specialized internal glands. But the very millisecond this liquid is extruded through the microscopic spigots of the spinnerets and pulled under physical tension, the protein molecules instantly realign and crystallize. In a fraction of a second, that liquid soup transforms into a solid, virtually unbreakable structural thread. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer versatility of the material. Spider silk is famously stronger than high-grade steel by weight, and it's incredibly elastic. To give you a sense of just how strong that is, material scientists actually calculate that if a spider web were woven out of silk threads as thick as a standard wooden pencil, that web could theoretically catch a fully loaded commercial airliner mid-flight without snapping. I mean, no way, right? It is nature's ultimate high-performance fiber, and spiders deploy it for almost everything. It functions as a sticky, near-invisible trap for prey. Active hunters use it as life-saving safety drag lines, dropping a continuous anchor behind them in case they fall off a ledge, and it forms highly durable, waterproof, and temperature-controlled shelters and egg sacs to fiercely protect their developing offspring. Section 4. Web builders versus active hunters. Deploying the gear in the field. Out in the wild, spiders have basically split into two primary evolutionary strategies to put all this sophisticated gear to use, and this brilliantly illustrates the divide. First, we have the web builders, like orb weavers and cobweb spiders. These are the patient, methodical trappers. Because they rely almost entirely on their webs to catch food, many of these spiders actually have fairly poor eyesight. Instead, they're exquisitely attuned to vibration, using the silk threads of their web as a literal extension of their own nervous system to feel exactly where a struggling fly is tangled up. On the flip side, we have the active hunters, like wolf spiders and jumping spiders. They completely forgo the web trapping. Jumping spiders, for instance, have incredible high-definition binocular vision. They use this sharp eyesight to stalk their prey like miniature cats, calculating highly complex geometric leaps to ambush insects from afar. Two entirely different sensory applications of the exact same biological high-tech gear. Now, naturally, we cannot talk about spider hunting without addressing the elephant in the room, the venom. But let's look at the actual biological logic behind this for a second. While it's entirely true that most spiders use venom to hunt small insects, the vast, overwhelming majority of them are completely harmless to us. Why? Well, because from a biological standpoint, producing venom takes a massive amount of metabolic energy. It's a highly expensive resource to create. Spiders absolutely do not want to waste it biting something they can't possibly eat, like a human being, unless they are being crushed or are in immediate, life-threatening danger. With the exception of a very few specific species globally, like black widows or funnel-web spiders, humans are simply not on their radar. Their fangs are just too small to pierce our skin, and their venom is explicitly formulated to break down insect physiology, not ours. Section 5. The Ultimate Ecological Guardians. Zooming out to global impact. When we weigh the perceived risks against the actual, tangible benefits these creatures provide, honestly, it isn't even a contest. The dangers are incredibly isolated. The benefits, however, are monumental. Spiders are the world's premier natural pest control, quietly maintaining a delicate global ecological balance. But beyond the ecosystem, their unique biology is directly aiding humanity right now. That remarkable silk superpower we discussed earlier, it's currently driving massive scientific innovation. Researchers are actively studying spider silk to synthesize brand new biomaterials. We're talking about the potential for 100% biodegradable, water-resistant fabrics, incredibly strong artificial ligaments and tendons for human medical surgery, and even ultra-lightweight body armor that performs better than Kevlar. Spiders are quite literally providing the blueprint for the materials of the future. But their most critical role is still happening out there in the dirt, the leaves, and the canopies. So the crucial point is, to truly grasp why they're so essential in maintaining balance by controlling insect populations, we really have to imagine the alternative. If spiders were to suddenly disappear tomorrow, the consequences would be, well, apocalyptic. Without spiders actively hunting and trapping millions of tons of bugs every single day, humanity would quickly face widespread global famine as unchecked agricultural pests absolutely decimated our global crop yields. Disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes would multiply exponentially, spreading illness far and wide without their primary predators to keep their numbers in check. Spiders act as an invisible, silent biological shield protecting the entire planet's ecosystems. Which brings us to our final thought. We've journeyed through their incredible microscopic diversity, their hydraulically powered biology, their super-strength chemical silk, and their massive global impact. So, the next time you see a spider sitting quietly in the corner of your ceiling, what will you see? Will it just be a creepy pest? Or will you recognize the marvel of evolutionary engineering, the completely harmless roommate, and the vital ecological ally that it truly is? Look, you certainly don't have to invite them to the dinner table, but maybe just let them keep doing their important job up in the corner. Thank you so much for diving into the amazing world of spiders with me today on this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.